we so close to Predator Bait 3000. There has been a ton of progress on this build. You'll see in this video just all kinds of progress across the board with the filtration, with the aquascaping, with the tops, with the support system, you name it. We got progress everywhere. The 1200 gallon, also major progress on that build as well. Basically the floodgates are getting ready to open. We got builds that are right on the cusp of coming online. So I'm super psyched about that, and I want to share everything in this video, as well as the next time we focus on Predator Bait 3000, it will have sharks in it. It's finally almost go time. Let's get into it and let me show you what I'm talking about. Well, if you're wondering how much salt it's going to take for Predator Bait 3000, oh, there's the pile of spent bags, and that is 1,400 pounds of salt. That gives you this sort of cloudy looking tank, because it's all dissolving right now. Right now it's running a little higher than probably what I'll want it to be, but we'll see. It's still degrading. Remember, you got 3,000 gallons up here, and you got the estuary in the back, and then of course the sump underneath. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of water movement that needs to take place, a lot of salt that needs to dissolve, and that kind of brings us to the next thing, which is our internal water flow. So we're going to run 2 of these water flow pumps, so 3,000 gallons per each. You know, there'll be, the pump will be up in the corner where you won't see it over there, and the plumbing coming off of it. So you see it's going to come up, it's going to go kind of like that, and extend across the back there and be blowing out this way. So one on each side, giving us our cross water movement. And then of course we have a lot of returns up there that are shooting water from back to front. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some measurements, get all this cut down, and get them painted and ready to go so they can be installed. And we'll go ahead and get that internal water movement going. And these are the little solution for the bamboo. These are very firm, but you can bend them, and then you can just screw them right down into the top of the estuary tank. So as soon as the salt gets all dissolved, this is ready to go. It'll be time to move those bamboo seedlings over and get them into their new estuary home. So this is my favorite part to video. Lots of progress. So the glass is no longer behind the 1,200 gallon. That's because it is installed inside there. All siliconed up against the front. Thanks again to my buddy Big Frank. Well, this one, usually it's just easier with his help, but this was one where it would have not even been possible without his help. So we had to, it was such a tight fit. Thankfully, I didn't make the same mistake over in there, but for this one, it was such a tight fit for the glass, because it's literally end to end, that with that little bit of a lip over there in the bracing, we basically had to come diagonal from that corner all the way to this front corner, and we had to basically come in like this and then get it straight up and then down and then move it into place, which when you're carrying something that weighs close to 300 pounds and you know the edges, you can't just, it's not easy to handle. You got a suction cup in one hand, the edge of the glass on another. So that was a chore, but we got it in, thankfully. And fortunately, it's not the same case over on this one. There's actually plenty of extra room, so it won't be as bad. But so where we're at with this, the main gasket there, you see that the glass goes against, that is all done. It's cured. I'm just going to jump in there tonight and put in the big sealing bead all the way around. Then we'll let that cure for 7 days. As you can see up here, I'm just working on the spacing for the top. So it looks like the way we're going to work out here is we'll have 2 2x6 cross braces, and they'll be spaced with 1 greenhouse panel in between each one, and then over here on the far right there'll just be a little bit of extra greenhouse panel where the water comes in, and then underneath the 2x6 I'll put in either a 2x4 or a 2x3 connected to it, which will create an area for plant baskets and everything to sit down. So there'll be one right up against the wall and then one spaced in, and that edge is what the plant baskets will sit on. So it'll have the capability of a river bank should I want to use it. If I don't want to use it, it's all above the water line, so you won't be able to see it looking in the front, so no harm, no foul. But now is the time to put it in. So once I get that ceiling bead done, I'll go ahead and start working on the tops. If I didn't have 12 inches of snow sitting on top of all my aggregate out there, all my rocks, I could start on the filter, but I'm gonna wait for some of that snow to melt off. Unfortunately, it's snowing again tonight, so I'll probably have 15 inches of snow sitting on it tomorrow, but we'll figure it out. So this is definitely what I didn't want to see coming down this morning. This is the female Fogo bass, obviously upside down and dead. I'm gonna have to get in there and pull out the bite to see what's going on. I mean, I just saw this fish 7 hours, 8 hours ago in the evening. Everything was fine. Everything else is fine in the tank. Everybody is, you know, swimming around, being normal. Everything's normal with the water. So I don't know what the problem is, but I guess my theory as of right now is it could be the same thing that happened to the male Fogo, which is lodged in the mouth of that peacock bass might be a pleco or a silver dollar or something. So I'm gonna fish out that body and we'll find out. Well, I checked both sides of the fish and inside the mouth, and there's nothing lodged in the mouth, no signs of any distress of the body on either side. Like I said, was eating aggressively last night, so this one's a mystery to me, but I'm gonna definitely have to grow out another pair of Fogo bass, because I definitely can't have the 4,500 gallon without a pair of these guys in there. They're just too beautiful. Alright. Well, we're over here at Predator Bay 3000. I thought I'd show the Discus Aquarium, and I'm happy to report that everybody is good. Everyone has recovered from the illness, which, whether it was parasitic or bacterial, internal, something was going on with them where they weren't eating, and their slime coat was sloughing off and everything, so they were not looking good. But everyone is back, so I treated for both of those internal parasites and bacterial infection. All the discus are good, even the guy who was lagging behind, the blue turquoise. Obviously all the other fish, they're fine. They got the treatment, whether they needed it or not. In theory, they brought it over with them, so they needed it too. So happy to say that everything is good here, and as always, after finishing a course of medical meds, let's go ahead and do a 50% water change on the 220 Discus Aquarium. So I love it when the theme of a video basically becomes progress. So still a lot of muck down here, but that's all trash right there. That's just the plumbing parts. Another trash bag over there. Starting to get cleaned up here. You see all that all that salt and crates and everything. It is in the tank. So I did misjudge. I put in 1,400 pounds of salt, and it looks like I needed about 1,300 pounds of salt. So what I've been doing is I'm having to dilute it back down, pumping out some of the salt water, pumping in fresh water. So it's not a big deal in terms of, you know, slowing down the build or anything like that, but I just hate to waste money, and I wasted 100 pounds worth of salt. So I hate to think about it, probably 120 bucks or so. So not happy about that, but let's get back to good things. So as you can see, the water is getting pretty clear. It was actually crystal clear yesterday, but I was doing one last pass on the sump with cleaning that out, so I stirred up a little bit and, you know, exchanging a bunch of water and doing a little bit of climbing in there. So it was pretty stirred up yesterday, and it's already cleared up pretty good, so that's an excellent sign. Plus in this video I'll be putting in the filter media for the back, so that'll help as well. One thing I want to show you real quick before we get into some of this plumbing work is, if you're looking in the front of the tank there, at least in person, visually, it looks like that's right up close to the glass, like maybe a foot and a half back. But it's crazy how much the glass distorts it, because if you come up top, you can see that that formation is really starting 3 feet back. That's actually 37 inches back to that corner right there from the front of the glass over here. And in the back, it's 30 something inch, like 30 inches off the back of the glass, that area that goes behind it, and then it's a pretty substantial rock formation. But as soon as I equal out the salinity, and it's really the same thing on the other side. The other one is all the way in the back, even further back, but it doesn't look like it from the front. But what I'm going to do is I'm in the process, since this is a little higher salinity than the current Predator Bay 2000 over here, I'm also removing water from here and replacing it with this water to even it out. So we're going to get it at 1026 for both tanks. That'll allow us to have invertebrates, and that'll support macroalgae growth in the estuary back behind there. You get too low in your salinity, like, you know, if you're thinking you're just fish only and you're going to knock it down to like, you know, 1021 or something like that, what you'll find is that that doesn't support coral and invertebrate growth, and even a lot of macroalgae doesn't like salinity that low. So while it will prevent some marine diseases, it limits what you can do. So this essentially, this 1,000-gallon estuary back here is going to be a big part of the filter system. So we want to have the ability to have all those things growing back here where they won't be predated on by the large predators, but they can work as a support system, removing nitrate and such from the water, and basically helping be part of the filter system. So, and getting back down here to the filter system, in the 500-gallon sump here in the front, I have a whole ton of buckets full of the biomedia there. And so what's going to happen is, the first part of the filter here is a settling chamber. That's just where all the water returns. Filter pads take out any particulate. I'm going to move about 2 feet down, and then right here I will have a metalamat, which will just slow down the water flow, and any solids that make it past this will end up right here, like where you see all this coral and sand dust and everything. So it'll stop here, and then from that point on, the rest of the sump here all the way down is just going to be this ceramic material here, just tons and tons of it laid out. And then we have the return chamber at the end, which is the pumps, and that's where I'll be running air down here as well, so that we're returning oxygenated water to the aquarium. And then lastly, with the sump, I'll be screwing in these copper wires that have a shielding on them, and these will be used to wrap around the mangrove shoots that I have. So I want to have them suspended up because I want the root system to grow down all the way to the sand in the estuary behind us back there. And then of course the plants will grow up towards those lights we have. So what that's going to do is, well, let me take you around back and show you. So we're back at the estuary, and if you suspend the plant from up top here, so we screw in that wire, we hang it down, we wrap it around the plant so that the stalk of the plant is out of the water and the roots are in the water. And what that's going to do is that's going to cause the roots to grow all the way down into this thick sand bed we have down here, and they're going to get really thick and create a huge, you know, jungle of root network, which is just amazing for a lot of reasons, you know, for pulling nutrients, but also for habitat for small fish, for baby sharks and things like that. And then the plant itself is going to grow out of the water, obviously, up and towards these lights up here. So if you put the plant further down, you'll increase the stalk of the plant and a shorter root system. So we basically want to have a very large, pronounced root system, and then a big, fluffy, you know, red mangrove plant up top. So that's the goal. And so now that the water chemistry is essentially almost in line with where we want it, we're very close to moving the mangroves over and getting them started over here. Once the water chemistry is correct, and once we're close to putting in the sharks, because we want to provide a nutrient source for the mangroves as well. It's definitely nice to be able to take a break when you're working on Predator Bay 3000 and come over and feed the fish in the 4500 Xingu River. I never get tired of watching the bass just hit the food, or the arowana, scooping it up. The Pleco army coming out to hoover up all of the leftovers. And also very happy to say that the wide bars and the red hooks, the little guys, well, not so little, but they do come the whole length of the tank now, and clean up food over here as well. So they got a bunch of their favorite pellets over on the right, so they're all kind of staying over there. But they do venture everywhere now, which is awesome, and they're not bothered by anybody. In fact, they might have finished their pellets, and it looks like they're matriculating their way over towards the bass to see what scraps they can pick up from the messy feeders, the big boy messy feeders. See one there, right there going down. And nice thing too is they'll eat right off the bottom like that. Hopefully it comes up on camera, but that red hook, he just hoovered that half a piece of food that the bass dropped, ate it right up, which is awesome. Very important, you know, when sometimes I see tanks where there's only the big fish and you don't have the support fish, you don't have the pleco and the silver dollars, the wide bars, the red hooks, the flattail, procholotus, catfish for that matter, down there, you know, as the cleaning crew, again, not eating algae, eating scraps of food that are left over so they don't break down in the system, and it's just less of a load on your filtration, your bacteria, and your plants, so helps keep everything in balance. But nice to see everything working together. Of course, the arowana at the top just hoovering up all the food, looking beautiful. Getting big, went through another little bit of a growth spurt, so that is pretty awesome. I'm thinking probably tomorrow I'll be going for a swim. I think it's time to go ahead and put that piece of wood in. It's looking like we're going to go horizontally over there. I got to take a few measurements to make sure it's going to work right, and then I'll also position a couple big rocks up on top, so if I need them I can just grab them to help weigh it down. So we'll see how it goes. If worst comes to worst, I can swim over here and grab this big rock and work my way back. So it's going to be fun. The only times I've swam in here, man, he startled me. The only times I've swam in here didn't have all the tops and everything on it, so it's gonna be interesting. But should be enough room for me to get over there, hold breath, get that, and then get back to where I have the tops off. So we'll see how it goes. But just wanted to sort of show you guys what I do quite a bit. Is whenever I want to take a break, I come in here and I just enjoy the Xingu rigger tank. All right, more and more progress. So we have 2 of the 3 cross supports for the 1200 gallon all getting painted up here. Part of the rail system for the river bank for the 1200 gallon here, and 2x4s for part of the tops for Predator Bay 3000. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And in a minute, I'll take you in there and show you the water flow pumps for Predator Bay 3000 and what we're going to do with the tops. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do here now is take out the braces in the 1200 gallon and go ahead and add the big sealing bead. So we have the gasket that holds the glass up against the front, and now we're going to put the sealing bead all around the perimeter, which is going to keep any water from getting in there, even to the sealing gasket, but basically seal this puppy up, and we're ready to start on the tops, which the tops are actually going to consist of 1 2x6 over here that's drilled, just like what we did for the Xingu River Aquarium to suspend the pumps in the water column up high where we want them. So we'll have that. Then we'll have a space for a top. We'll have the first divider, space for a top, the second divider, and then a space for a top. And actually adding that piece for the pumps is going to fill up the space, so I don't have to put a little half piece over on the end. It should work out just perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these braces and start siliconing. And last thing we're working on right now is water flow. So you see from the return pumps from the sump, we have 2 returns there, 2 there, 2 there, and 2 at the very end down there. So that's giving us a lot of flow front to back. And what we want to do is on each side of the tank is we're going to have internal water flow that's just going to push water from the right to the left and 21 feet down there from the left to the right. And the nice thing is the tank doesn't stop where the glass is. The tank actually goes over a few feet there. So we're going to be able to install this pump here up in that front corner, and you won't be able to see it. And all of this plumbing here will all be painted black. And essentially the way it will work is if I hold one of these up. So the pump will be down in the sand, all painted black. Pulling water from higher up in the water column because we don't want to pull any sand through the impeller, and sharks are famous for knocking sand around rays. Then we're going to bring it up to the level that we want it in the water, which is just below the surface, and then we're just going to basically spread it out with this. So that's going to basically give us, so we have a lot of water flow coming from the back, so this is going to give us water flow in the front and the middle, going all in different directions. And so this is going to be our 3,000 each pump, so 6,000 gallons of internal water flow on the aquarium, in addition to what we have, you know, circulating the system through the sump and through the estuary in the back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cement all these together and get them all painted black. So we all know my 125 gallon Malawi River aquarium, which I have poached all the plants out of for the Asian jungle. It's had the leaky sump liner for a long time, which has created that giant mess. And I've always been adding water to the sump and just letting it slowly leak out to keep the tank going. But I thought to myself, well, what is my sump? It's just a bunch of plants and a little bit of material with bacteria on it and a return pump. And I was looking at the aquarium itself and I was like, well, it still has a lot of plants. It has a lot of things with bacteria growing all over it. It's well established. And if you introduce a whole bunch of oxygen to it, just like I was doing in the sump down below, is it really that much different having the sump on or sump off? So to test, you know, a natural aquarium like this, one with the deep substrate, one with the live plants, one that's very, very well established with beneficial bacteria, I said, let's just see what the tank can do if I just move the oxygen up to the tank and don't go through the sump anymore and just have the power head running. And so that's the way it's been running for the last 3 weeks. And of course, I've been on top of testing the water to make sure there hasn't been any swings, and there hasn't. There's just a lot of happy fish who are still eating like pigs. They got big fat stomachs. And yeah, the tank is doing just fine. The tank is handling the load, no problem. So no more leaky sump. That's definitely a lot of stress off of my mind, because you know, just having that constantly leaking out was, you know, really annoying. And these guys are going to their 750 gallon home very soon as that 1,200 gallon gets built. These are the guys who are taking over the 750 across from the 600 Asian Jungle Aquarium. But just again, another example of where an established ecosystem aquarium, where you're using the principles of you know, creating the proper habitat for bacteria to thrive, not overstocking the tank, and using live plants and deep substrate. Again, the deep substrate is just basically a major part of the providing the bacteria all of the areas it needs to survive. There's different types of bacteria growing at the surface of that deep substrate, and then further in you're getting other types of bacteria growing. And they all serve a purpose. Some are breaking down ammonia and nitrate, some are breaking down nitrate. They all have a reason to be there, and they're all doing their job. It's just an example of how an aquarium can run well with very minimal equipment if it's structured correctly. So good times. All of the silicone work in the first 1,200 gallon is done. Go ahead, it's time to just let that cure over the next 7 days or so. We have plenty to do working on the tops, but you know what? Let's go ahead and pivot back over to the 3,000 gallon over there. So before I install these in a Predator Bay 3000, I figured it easier to show them to you guys all laid out like this. So these are the internal water flow system for Predator Bay 3000 over there. So what we have here is we are intaking the water up higher off the substrate. We don't want to pull up any sand or anything like that, so we're going to be pulling in water from up in the water column, and then we're going to go and shoot it out through these two nozzles. And like I spoke about before, you can see how they're set up. One set up for one side, one for the other. And the way that will work is the tank goes a foot over here, roughly a foot outside of the glass, and on the other side it's actually a little more, probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And so the pump will be up over here out of sight, and the water will be coming out sort of in the middle of the tank, a little bit in the front, a little bit in the middle, and then we know we have a lot of returns in the back. So between all of them, we're going to have good water flow internally and good water flow to the sump. So over here, again, the pump will be back over there. You won't be able to see it, and we'll see that we have our water flow will be roughly, say, here and there. And of course we've got a lot in the back. Those will be pushed down a little bit. The other thing is, you can see I've added a new piece of framing here, and I've also done it to the other side. It's for the new top solution that's going on there. I'm still waiting on a little bit of hardware, but I'm just putting in some of the pieces, support pieces that I'll need, and it'll actually be the last thing that goes in is once we're finished with the aquascape and I start transferring over some live rock and seating this and everything, then it'll be time right after we transfer the fish to install the top. So the top will be ready to go once the fish are in. So what we're going to do now is install the internal water flow, and then we'll hop around back and we'll check out all this filter material that we have going in, because we're getting the sump all cranked up and ready to go. Basically, Predator Bay 3000 is going biologically alive in this video. So I'm working on all these big projects in the fish basement. Predator Bay 3000, which is actually a 4,500 gallon system, and the new 1,200 gallons, and of course making changes to the 4,500 gallon Xingu River. And it's times like this where I really appreciate the concept I'm going here with the ecosystem aquariums, where they can largely run themselves with very few inputs and very few, mass interactions. And when I mean mass interactions, I mean like big water changes or a whole bunch of filter cleanup, that sort of thing. Using the techniques of deep substrate, live plants, larger aquariums that aren't overstocked. What I'm getting to is that I've been able to ignore aquariums like my 600 gallon Asian jungle here for a month, 6 weeks. All I've done is top off water for evaporation and fed these guys. Nothing else. I haven't even cleaned the glass actually. Not with a razor blade, just with the old flipper up there, and not much of that either. And it's just looking so good, and the fish are doing. More importantly, the fish are doing so good. So this is the goal. Yes, I have a lot of tanks, and yes, I have a lot of big tanks. But when they're done right, and when they're well established, and when you don't overstock them, this is what you can get. You can get a whole fish basement full of aquariums that can do a whole lot of cruise control. So the time you're enjoying the aquariums is so much greater than the time you're putting in the hard work on them, that it just becomes a no-brainer. So just a great example of how this type of setup really works, and why this is exactly why I'm adding sediment filters or upflow filters to all my new tanks, why I'm modifying these existing tanks to have the settling chambers and everything. Because when you get these suckers dialed in just right, man, it is nothing but pleasure owning these aquariums. Okay, we have full internal water flow turned on, and if it comes through on camera like it does here, it's rocking and rolling. We got water agitation everywhere. We've got water colliding with water, which is going to give us a nice uneven flow, a nice random flow throughout the aquarium, which is what we want. We want to keep any sort of hard particulate or heavy particulate from settling in the sand bed, keep everything up and flowing where it can get picked up by all these big drains over here. And of course, we want to keep the water highly oxygenated and essentially healthy for our sharks. So this is awesome stuff. So we have internal water flow. So now the next step is I need to take all these buckets of filter media and all this Matala mat over here, and we need to go ahead and get the sump set up, because once that's done, the next step is just to lower the salinity a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump water out of the existing Predator Bay over there, pump some of this higher salt water in there. So I'm going to take the current Predator Bay from 124 to 126. I'm going to take this from 129 down to 126. We're going to even them out. And then once that's done, I'm going to cherry pick some rocks out of Predator Bay 2000 over there, because the best way to jumpstart a new aquarium is with live bacteria from existing one. And instead of pouring in bacteria from a bottle, we got lots of live rock with bacteria over there. So there's going to be some die-off with all the organics being come in with the filter media for being outside and everything, which is fine. We need a little bit to feed the small amount of live rock we're going to put in here. So we'll put a little bit of live rock in here and a little bit in the estuary just to start kicking things off. And then at that point, it starts the process of dosing ammonia over here or swapping water with the other aquarium. and generally moving over live rock and getting the live rock reef built here in the tank. So I was going to show you from the front the reef here, but it's gotten all stirred up. There's still some salt that needs to mix. So again, I'll start building up the reef with the live rock slowly. It's going to take me time to do that anyways, and as that's happening, this water will clear up, obviously, as I'm getting ready to put all the rest of the filter material in, and we'll just transition live rock from Predator Bay 2000 over to 3000. During that time, the cycle will be starting in here as far as bacteria will start colonizing excuse me, all the rest of the aquarium. This water will obviously clear up, and eventually we will have a tank over here where all the live rock is gone. It'll all be over in here. This tank will be tested out correctly. The sharks get moved over. But I can tell you right now, we're in the home stretch as far as putting the tank together. I have the material for the tops outside. Just waiting on a couple of fasteners for how I want to do it, but I also have an interim method that I can put the tops on just in case the fasteners don't come in time. So the next video where Predator Bay 3000 is featured, it's going to have the sharks in it, guaranteed. Sat down here in front of the 1200 gallon and I noticed I didn't ooze out much silicone. You install glass and enough of these, you get kind of good at it. It's kind of saves on the work too, and less cleanup. But so obviously, exciting video, Predator Bay 3000, it's almost online. The sharks are almost in a new home. We know that's going to start a huge chain of events of tank moves with the lagoon aquarium and everything out of the 1500 gallon system, the end wall and the 600 reef slope, the 1200 gallon behind me. I mean, it's time. I can start escaping this right now. All I got to do is a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of filter work, and some tops, and it's ready as well. We know that's going to open up the 750 gallon move and then the 125. Man, there's so much going on. So as you can tell, the floodgates are open. It's a lot of new things coming in the Aquarium and Fish Basement over the next few months. So stay tuned. It's getting ready to get real fun real quick.